Oh God. I've calmed down enough to have this conversation, and we had a 12-hour downtime yesterday to essentially what everybody is saying. I've not logged into the game yet, but for all of the communication out there to just essentially make the game worse than it was before instead of making it better. So we had a hotfix post yesterday by Wikipedia, and we'll start with that. Excuse me, let me switch to this one. And we'll start with that. And the big feature update here is one part perfect and the rest completely brain dead. So player trade notifications refactor with economy authorization service, replacing player alpha UEC trade flow with an authorization ticket model that will require both parties to consent to the trade before it completes. That is perfect. That is exactly what you need. That is the start of a contract. That's great. We love that. That is the beginning of a UI pop-up that has a player A is giving you this, player B is giving you that, and we accept, right? Nope, yes. Receiving the player will receive a notification alert when Alpha UEC is sent, prompting them to accept or deny. Except the sender will just have a pending message, and if not accepted in time by the receiver, the transaction will cancel. How long is the time? It's like 5 minutes, 10 minutes. It doesn't matter. If it's 2 hours, it doesn't matter. Because again, this requires players. Okay, I don't know how it works like behind the scenes. I'm not a fucking coder or anything like that. It doesn't matter. The idea here is as an idea, having a player say, I'm giving you this and you accept or not. And then one day, hopefully it can go back the other way. But the idea here is I hope one day we have a contract system that I put up a contract to sell you something and then you can accept it, right? That would be great. So the idea there of both parties having to agree is a good thing to me. Having a timer on that transaction is brain dead. Literally smooth-brained. That is awful to me. But this is only for Alpha UEC. And, I mean, I don't think I was planning on logging into Eve today. But there's a number of ways that Eve does things with their contracts. There's a contract system, and there's like 15 different ways to send money via a wallet. A game that is pay to win, has RMTers, and things like that, right? You know, that has problems with RMT, but deals with it in a much better way than CIG does. And they have a real reason to worry about RMT. Well, we're still in alpha. So once again, replacing the player trade flow with a ticket model where both parties have to consent. In a system where we've had tons of problems with notifications as well, which is really funny. The receiving player will receive a notification alert, and then you have to accept it in time. How long is that timer? I don't know. It doesn't matter how long it is. The fact that it times out is a huge problem because this breaks so many things. There is a lot of people complaining about this. I am completely biased. I want you guys to know that. Here's how my org works. My org works where we all go out, we like mine, we'll do Hathor, we'll do the irradiated Valacar, and we'll get all of the things that would be valuable to a player, CZs, whatever, valuable to a player out there in the game. And then if that player loves to just salvage, but also would like a Wicklow ship or something like that, then they can go out there and salvage their heart out and make millions doing that. And then give us those millions for things like AAA Pearls or Karenite or Pure Karenite or whatever, right? sounds like a video game to me. And, you know, if you go ahead and look at UEX, which is actually something I have not logged into, so we should probably go to UEX corp.space and look at the marketplace, which is in case you guys are not familiar, this is a website called uexcorp.space. And this is where players have created their own trading market where players can trade. Now, what might happen here is that the value of all these items may get reduced, and it actually kind of looks like it may get reduced. We'll see. I wonder if I look up, search for items, Karenite, pure. Not really, right? We've seen somebody wanting to buy pure Karenite at 3 million, but the want to sell pure Karenite, the lowest price. Can we do lowest price? 4.5 mil. Right? And how many do they have? 2. So in reality, and this one doesn't say. So 7.4, like there's like a big disparity between the price, but nobody is selling it for something that would fit within the ability to trade. There's also apparently a cap on how many trades you could do per day, which is a huge issue here. I was talking to somebody earlier. I don't want to put them on blast, but they had some really good points. You're in the chat, so feel free if I'm allowed to say who I was talking to. I think you're here. But they've also apparently put a limit on how many things you could do here. The system also induces trade rate limits and amount caps. All right, so I had 6 million in my account, and what I decided to do, let me remove my cam so you guys could see this. I now have 29 mil. So just a note, like we're going to cut through this video. I'm going to be angrier than I probably should be because I didn't have this information initially. I went off information that the cap was 5 mil, right? So whoever said that the cap is 5 mil, so you can only do 5 transactions a day or something like that, is where I'm coming from. This was multiple transactions, which one is coming in right now. That's the maximum you can transfer to anybody, 990K. You have to put in 995, then the 5 is taken out. If you put 1 million, that goes above the cap. So what they're probably going to try and be figuring out here is anybody scripting to do these payouts, right? Foxy did 20 transactions. We, I believe, are over 20 because I had 6 mil and I now have 30. So you put in 995, the player gets 990. And that's what we're doing here. And so when I went to go look at UEX and say, all right, it's 10 mil for 1 pure Karenite. If you want to sell 5, then it's 50 mil. Maybe you're going to be able to do that. Maybe not. What they're doing is definitely making this extremely painful to be able to do any player-driven stuff, but they are not completely restricting you from doing it. So I am still standing by my word here that my YouTube video just got pulled. Yes, because I'm making a redaction to it right now. Or a correction to it right now. So yeah, I just pulled it. It went live for like a few minutes, and I was like, nope, we're going to pull it. I'm going to re-edit it and post it properly. So we're able to still transfer an incredibly large amount of money, more money than a singular player would want to do, possibly less on an org scale. So from an org scale, they are still hampering that stuff, but there are no org mechanics in the game, and it's all players who are trying to do org stuff when the game shouldn't do it. Posted a bit without testing. Oh, are we being critical of that? I said it in the beginning that I haven't even logged in yet, and we're going based off of information in the community who said it was 5 mil. So shoot me. And I didn't post without testing. I didn't think the video would get posted before I tested. So if I needed to make a redaction, I could, and if I didn't, then I wouldn't, right? So it literally posted for 2 seconds, so it's okay. But again, the goal here was to pull in enough money to be able to send back and show that to you. And yeah, this is kind of crazy. We've done well more than the average person would need to do in any singular transaction for the most part. But I will repeat this. The CIG economy team is the biggest exploit in the game. Go open your MobiGlass and look at the number of contracts that pay that near the cap of how much you can trade amongst the player, right? It's quite a few, and they are the ones creating the massive inflation in the game. Not the massive inflation that we had in previous patches, but insane inflation already with no sinks. So the economy team, again, is the biggest exploit. Oh, there's an entire team that is an economy team. And that's the most embarrassing thing about this game, right? So this looks like it will help them find RMT better, but it does make the amazing things that people have done in the community extremely difficult. And the only thing that we can hope on a positive takeaway from this is that CIG, Chris Roberts, whoever, steals priority from some stupid fucking thing that they've been making to making something that makes this less painful and still allows them to catch bad actors. Because right now, the entire community is being punished by very few bad actors, and that is something that needs to change. And all right, back to the video of me now overreacting to information that was incorrect that I had. All right, so instead of saying what they are, which is fucking obnoxious too, so players don't even know what the limits are, and like it's in this right at the end in the last sentence. That's kind of crazy. Yeah, I have 8 million orders for today. What do? I don't know. Like, guys, I am extremely biased. This is how my org works. You ready? Not only do we do trades on UEX, but when players go out and get pure Karenite themselves or find some really good value still around, they'll often give it to the org. We give them points in our own org currency, and then they spend those points to either buy other items that are in our inventory, or they'll use it to buy shares in the company. Then our company deals, our org, a few members deal with selling things on UEX, and then I think we made 300 million last week selling on UEX. And then all of that money is dispersed out to the members with shares equally based on shares. Wikipedia early refused to give the cap. He said, go test it, shaking my head. They knew it was a bad idea and still pushed it. No, I think they think they're smart. I think they're saying that they're not going to do it, so they save the RMTers because they don't want to save the RMTers 5 minutes of time from creating their macros in order to figure this out. By the way, the person that I was talking to hasn't said anything. So capping transactions, and this is what they said. Oh, if it was me, fire on. It was Mr. Kraken, okay, who everyone loves, right? But he's kind of making his points here, and I didn't think of this, but this is his idea. I want to make sure I give credit where credit was due, but I don't know if he wants to be a part of me calling the economy and company incompetent. So, because that's what I think they are. I think they're being incompetent. Because here's what happens when you limit the rate caps and all of these things in an alpha. In a situation where you're supposed to be able to find these issues, you are making monitoring these issues now more difficult than they were before. So let's move on to Exhibit B. Our good friend Xylo, the guy who was always here to save the day. Every time he makes a post, if it doesn't blow up in his face in the fucking moment, don't worry, give it time. The claims around this was, remember when there was already claims from RMTers? The claims around billions of Alpha UEC circulating around right now don't line up with what we're currently seeing internally. While I can't get into specifics around monitoring and enforcement, our tools and visibility today are significantly more robust than they were previously, and we will absolutely take action to clean things up wherever needed. Since the economy is server side, we have a pretty clear picture of the overall economy. Sure you fucking do. And the highest balances we're currently seeing are what we confirmed was like 55 million at the time, right? Also, okay, like RMT sellers, blah, 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 blah. So their tools are significantly more robust is just objectively not true now, right? Because if your tools were robust, then, and you were able to see who was a problem and who is not a problem, which, of course, their tools probably are robust, but they are unable to determine who is a problem and who is not a problem because of a website like this. And this website is a perfect representation of a player-driven economy. Item goes out, money comes in, but they're not able to monitor the item going out, right? They can only see the transactions. So instead of investing time and money and effort into things like transactions, which I think I can go all the way back to a CitizenCon 20. When was the one with like where they sat down to talk about Nine Tails lockdown and things like that before they happened? It was Tony Z and like some like two other devs. I can't remember what year that was, 22, something like that. We have gone, you know, an entire your kid went through high school and has already been accepted to fucking college before we've decided to deal with the actual framework of the game. So am I biased that our org probably won't be able to do this stuff anymore? Yes. But what I'm actually upset about is the lack of foundational features that belong in this game and are never, ever, ever prioritized, right? So I think it's probably a good time to go to this post, which was made by S.I. Glare. And the title is The Cart, the Horse, and the Art of Inventing Problems. I skimmed through this post before I was going to talk about this, and it was so well written that like it was just everything that I feel about these things. I genuinely don't understand how we keep arriving at the same destination. Player discovers a way to accomplish something because the game lacks the proper tools. Players build organizations. Organizations develop logistic change. Guys, I have a meeting every week. We talk for hours about this stuff. Organizations create replacement ship funds. Organizations reimburse members for losses. I mean, none of that is really true, right? That's more EVE Online stuff. Organizations buy equipment in bulk. Organizations maintain operational budgets. Organizations create entire player-run economies because there's no organization banking systems, no organization wallets, no marketplace, no escrow systems, no procurement contracts, and no meaningful financial tools. Yet every fucking month on the monthly report, we see the economy team typing, "Oh, we decided the price of the NPC sold guns that you're never gonna fucking use." And somehow the conclusion is, well, players shouldn't be doing that. No, players are doing that because they have to. For years, and again, this isn't the conclusion that players shouldn't be doing that. This is the conclusion of we can't determine which players are legitimately playing our game and which players aren't because we haven't created these things. So the guy with the fucking clown nose on over here that made this post saying that their tools are significantly more robust, you wouldn't need these fucking tools to be significantly more robust if you just made the right fucking tool in the first place. That's my issue, okay? My issue here is that you haven't made the right tools. The right tools were the things that were listed in this post that are missing. Organization wallets, banking systems, trading, all those things, right? If you had those things, then you would be able to tell the difference between who is legitimate and who is not. Are they trading with people within their org? Are they trading with people outside of their org? Are they trading with people in their time zone, outside of their time, whatever, right? Now, again, this, I want to reiterate here, they are going to change this. This is going to stay until Tuesday. They have a lever that they're going to change, right? They're going to change. But again, it's the point here that Mr. Kraken made. How does this make your monitoring who's doing bad things easier? It doesn't. It just hurts everyone, right? It's like this. It's like instead of going in with a sniper and shooting all the RMTers, it's just dropping a nuclear bomb on everybody who lives in the city that an RMTer would be in, right? It's fucking stupid. It's the same way their game works, is that every fucking gameplay that exists in their game is just ruined by somebody with an A2. You know what I mean? They made the A2 in their game, might as well develop with one as well. That's basically how they work. No players are doing that because they have to. For years, they've been told that organizations, corporations, logistics, commerce, industry, large-scale cooperation are the future of Star Citizen, right? For years, we've been told that's the future. But it can't be the future if you never develop it in the present, if you never work on it ever, right? If you never, ever work on this being a thing, it will never be the present. It will always be the future. Then every time player finds a way to approximate those systems themselves, the solution seems to be to break the workaround before the actual feature exists, right? So again, wasting development time on band-aiding the things that we've created. Now, to be fair, again, all of these systems that players create to solve these problems are the reason that the game has RMT issues and broken economy and things like that, right? So these things are not mutually like the people who are making these org systems are not, part of the problem as well, right? They're kind of like, there's this gray line between the two where they're kind of the same thing because they're doing the exact same actions, but one is being nefarious and one is not. And a big part of that is because CIG's economy and economy teams are completely broken and incompetent, and just I want to give them the benefit of the doubt, but now I fully believe that they are just terrible and have no idea what the fuck they're doing. Because you wouldn't make a wall to block things like this if you knew what you were doing and you had an understanding of what everybody was doing and what was going on, and again, you do not have an economy. Like there's so much lack of attention to detail on this avenue of the game that the only solution for them is to do this in their minds. And I said this to Mr. Kraken. I can just imagine that these people have had what did I write? Just so I can remember, because it was 4.0 came out early 2025 with a wipe. And from that point forward, it was never-ending exploits that took the economy to a place that was completely awful. And then we come to 4.8, where we get a wipe, which was extremely, extremely exciting. Right? And I think that's why that there's this overcorrection from CIG. Let's not do what we did in 4.0. Let's limit things now, solve the problems, and then move forward. So this is like a short-term thing, potentially. But what I think these guys do is they have meetings all fucking day instead of actually developing their game just to come up with the worst possible solution to solve the fucking problem every single time. When the solution is to actually develop your video game, to actually develop the systems in your video game. Why do you not do that? That's the part that I don't understand. Why do we not develop the systems of our game? That's the part that I struggle with here. It's always a Band-Aid to solve a problem. I see tier 0 item recovery being mentioned in chat, right? That was supposed to be a short-term solution. It's a year and a half later, right? It's like, it's these constant wasting time on Band-Aids and then never actually building your game. It's kind of crazy. So anyway, you guys can check out this post if you want, but it's really well written to just be like, what are we doing? Okay? That's it. It's just ridiculous. And then we had this one on Reddit from our glorious clown nose Xylo here, where we've spent some additional time reviewing the case of there was a player who deleted their post because they got caught that I spent $5,000 on Star Citizen, reported a bug, and then got banned. No, you didn't. Like, the guy obviously was like overdoing things and over-exploiting or whatever, right? And then they said, we generally don't discuss individual accounts publicly, but I do want to clarify this wasn't a case of somebody being banned simply for using the issue council. They had a history of violations, blah, 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 blah. But then, that said, after another review, we decided that we will lift the ban and convert it to a final warning. We believe in giving people the opportunity to learn from past mistakes, but there won't be room for additional violations going forward. Yeah, sure. So this player... Again, guys, we're capping transactions and then unbanning people who are the problem. What are we doing? These are the people that are causing the problems, and these are the people that are making everyone who plays the game legitimately upset. And by the way, apparently this guy's selling his account now. What are we doing? What are we doing? Everybody celebrated $1 billion in funding. This is what they're doing with your $1 billion. This is what they have done for 10, 12, 14, a million years. Every single time somebody said, in development for 22 years, in development for 16 years at Summer's Games Fest, I was like, oh, there's more people like this, right? Just, what are we doing? I have nothing else to say other than, they don't know what they're doing because they haven't developed their game. And I think that's the real issue here. It's not that there's RMTers. It's not that, oh my God, they're incompetent necessarily. It's a complete mismatch. I don't know. Like, this is me, like, my mind is just flowing with the thoughts as they're coming out, in my head in the moment. So I may have like contradicted myself from the beginning a little bit, but, this is a real problem. This to me shows that we shouldn't be celebrating how much money they've made. And we should be really on them to do better. And this is not good enough, right? This fix is a result of your lack of attention and your lack of care to build the best game possible, right? 10 mil for 2 Knight, time to do 10 transactions of 995K, sure. And that's the other thing, is an RMTer is just going to create a macro to do this RMT trade. You've solved nothing. And then when I'm trying to play the game legitimately, I'm going to look like an RMTer. Daily limit is 5 mil. So is it a limit to how much we can spend or whatever? Yeah, that's crazy, right? Isn't the price of one pure carrot currently over the limit? Yes. And I wonder, will that lower prices? Potentially, but that's lowering prices in a way that the economy team is not allowing for player-driven anything, right? Because UEX again is, and I'll bring it up on the screen again. This is one of the best examples of how bad CIG's economy actually is, right? Where CIG, when the economy is out of control, Pure Carronite has gone up into the billions of credits, right? Because players know how much is in their account. Players decide what they're willing to spend and what they're willing to buy things for, right? Like buy and sell things for. And then, so this is a perfect representation of how broken CIG's economy actually is. Pure Carronite prices have gradually come down to these after the wipe, and this is where it's settled in the like 5 to 8 million range. I think this is still really broken where there's a 4 and then there's a 7, 8, you know? So here's where your real kind of price is. And yeah, it's like, as you can see, it's like mostly like we've decided that 10 is the proper value for this. Right? Because it's very easy to earn money in the game still. The economy team is the biggest exploit of the game, by the way. Refueling missions where you can make 6 mil per hour. Of course, you're going to have 10 million gems because you're injecting too much money into the game and taking none of it out. There you go. So, yeah. This is so stupid and so broken and just dumb and I'm so frustrated with the lack of. I don't have an issue with the fact that the game is still in alpha after 14 years. They're trying to do a lot. I have an issue with over the 14 years and hiring 1,000 fucking employees. How have you not hired employees that work on things like this? How have you not hired employees that are dedicated to building these types of systems? You decided a long time ago you were making an MMO, and you hired 0 developers who actually make MMO-like systems. And that just, again, I see it in the chat, that proves again that Star Citizen is not part of their priority at all. It is just enough to sell the ships. That's all they're willing to do. Just enough to sell you a ship. The rest is Squadron 42. And if they were honest about it, they would make so much less money. And it's sad. So anyway, that's my rant. I hope it wasn't too bad. Lots of F-bombs, but like, it's one of these things where like, how many times can I say it before it sinks in for either many of you that watch or the company themselves that they just it's a fucking sham. That's what it feels like to me. It feels like a sham. It feels like there is not a care in the world about the actual player experience. All right, now I'm going to pin this one at the end of the video because we tested even more. And then in the middle, I thought I exploited somehow by doing certain clicks, you know, just trying to make my life easier to test the transactions because we were trying to hit the transaction limit, if there even is one. And we never hit it. And I just was like, let me show on video what it looks like to fail a transaction. So instead of sending 990K, I sent 9.9 mil and it worked. So I thought I found an exploit to get around it and was like, oh, well, okay, I guess we don't have to worry about this anymore. And then other people in my org said they're just able to send 20 mil randomly with no issues. So something happened where they just turned off these limits. Maybe they've come to their senses that this isn't the best scenario, whatever. So have some fun comedy with me overreacting to something that was obviously going to get changed anyway. But in reality, I think all the points still make sense, that they sit in meetings and come to the conclusion that 1 million is a limit that they wanted to do when, again, most of the items in the player trading world are well above that number. So pretty dumb. And hopefully they come up with a better Band-Aid solution for the Band-Aid, for the Band-Aid, for the Band-Aid, instead of actually making the fucking game, which again is the point. It's not the actual restrictions that they put on here. It is the Band-Aid for the Band-Aid for the Band-Aid instead of actually developing Star Citizen, which is what we want them to do here, right? That's the point. It's not to get mad. It's not to laugh. It's not to cry. It's to just be like, hey, we gave you money, $1 billion, to make a really cool game. Would love you to just make that game that you said you were going to make and do the things that you were going to do instead of prioritize stupid shit that doesn't matter. Okay? Thanks.